Taking a look at fuel post-exercise. When we're talking about fuel post-exercise, we're really talking about a heavy session. So a heavy session at the gym, or perhaps an aerobic session that's lasting more than 60 minutes. That's when you really need to start thinking carefully about your fuel and your nutrition post-exercise for muscle rebuild, repair, recovery, and particularly if you're going to be undertaking an event the next day, you need to have those glycogen stores replenished and you need to be feeling as well as you can so that you can go out and undertake physical activity at the same level the next day. So we're going to have a look at carbohydrate, and the reason why we need to take carbohydrate, remember that's the food fuel in post-exercise, is to restore muscle glycogen, which is the body fuel or the chemical fuel. So our muscles have the capacity to store the most amount of glycogen, and they'll be used when we exercise. We'll use a little bit of liver glycogen as well, but those muscle supplies really need to be restored or replenished. Now, in terms of the protocol or the rules for carbohydrate, you want to have an immediate intake. I think one textbook says within 30 minutes, another says within 60 minutes. So either's fine. It's the concept of immediate intake is important, and it should be high GI. The reason why it should be high GI is that encourages faster replenishment of the muscle glycogen. Now, the rules are, or the protocol recommended is 1 to 1.5 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram of body mass. So if you're looking at, let's say something like an Uncle Toby's muesli bar, choc chip, that's about 25 to 30 grams of carbohydrate. So someone who weighs 60 kilos, you might need 2.5 of those muesli bars immediately. It's important that you have more than that within the coming hours, but you need it to kickstart the body to start replenishing that glycogen as fast as possible. Now, the reason why you need to have protein post-exercise is because it contains the amino acids, or protein as the food fuel and amino acids as the chemical fuel, which help build and repair muscle, which aids in the adaptations. Fitness. What we've got there on the far right-hand side is an example of an AFL umpire meal post a game, and you can see that there's plenty of carbohydrate there and there's plenty of protein as well. Now, the idea is that you want to have a carbohydrate and protein meal together, so it's called a co-ingestion, and the reason why we want to have it together is that when we have carbohydrate, it actually stimulates the hormone insulin, and insulin increases amino acid uptake. So what that means is that having both of them together, you're going to get the best bang for your buck, because you're going to be able to restore muscle glycogen, as well as that you're going to have an increased uptake of protein or amino acids, which is going to allow adaptations to occur and recovery, which is probably most important for athletes who are performing in events day after day. So let's take a look at the question. This is from last year. Explain why a combined protein carbohydrate snack or meal following a heavy weight training workout may be more effective recovery strategy than consuming protein alone. It's worth 3 marks, as you can see. Whenever you have a question like this that talks about two different sort of factors or variables, so here we're talking about a protein carbohydrate snack versus a protein alone, you need to talk about both of them. So the first part of your answer might be talking about protein alone and what it does. So protein helps repair and recover muscles, and that would be fine. Then what you need to say is why having protein and carbohydrate together is better. So while having protein alone will help recover and repair muscles, and having carbohydrate alone will help restore muscle glycogen, having them together is going to be best, because carbohydrate, or because there'll be an increase in insulin, which increases amino acid uptake, and thus recovery will be faster. So let's have a look here. Only 18% of the state got full marks, and what they've done is exactly as we've just said, that the protein is used for muscle repair and adaptation to training, and the carbohydrate provides fuel to restore muscle glycogen levels. However, when you put them together, carbohydrate stimulates an increase in insulin that stimulates the muscle to take up amino acids for rebuilding. So see, it's really clear about the structure of the answer. When they talk about two different variables, you must mention both of them to get full marks. Even if you've got a really good understanding that carbohydrate increases insulin and you're going to get an increase in amino acid uptake, if you don't mention protein in isolation and exactly what it does, you won't get the full marks. And I think that's what a lot of people did. 37% of the state got 2 marks, and that's what they would have done, but they wouldn't have spoken about specifically protein in isolation and what it does. So make sure that you pay careful attention to what the question's asking and the way in which it's